In this video, we're going to talk about design options. Now, what you're going to notice when we go through here is we try to minimize the design so that when you're in the back end, the options will all correlate to different things. So for instance, when you're looking at something like this, like a title, when we change the fonts and the sizes on the title, it's going to change throughout the entire site. So you don't have to come through and change it for every section. We're going to change it in one place and it's going to change everywhere. So we're going to go into the back end and I'm going to show you all your options, including logos, fonts, colors, etc. And we're gonna go ahead and go through these options now. So I'm going to go into the back end and we are in the design section right here. And the first thing I'm going to show you is this settings tab. So in the settings tab, you have a navigation background color, which I cover in another video. And that navigation background color is going to be this bar right here. And in the navigation video, I'll show you how to turn that bar on and off and how to change that color. This body color is not, you're probably not going to see a lot of change because in every single content section, you have the ability to create a background color. But this is the back of the background. So if you're scrolling down the site super quick and maybe the last item isn't loading because somebody's bandwidth is a little slow, this is the color they're going to see before that content section loads. It's probably a good idea just to keep it white, which is what it is right now, and that's fine. This footer background color is right now set to a dark charcoal, and that is going to be, if we were to go to the bottom of the site, that's going to be this footer dark charcoal. So you have basically the top of the site, the bottom of the site, and in between, and those are your basic colors. Now I cover these options in other videos, so they correlate to specific content sections, so I'm going to skip that for now. We're going to skip over the header section because I cover it in another video, and we're going to go straight to the logo section. So in the logo tab, we have a few options. When you're looking at this logo, we have, first of all, a text option. If you're waiting for your graphic designer to design a new logo and you just want to use a text-based logo, this is how you do it. So you'll come in here, and the first thing you'll do is in this area, you're going to change logo text to, I'm just going to call this Antonio's Studio, something like that. And I'm going to click Save. I can change the logo text color. So let's say we wanted our logo to be yellow. And we click OK. I could also take the hex code from Photoshop and drop it right in there. And then I can play around with my margins. So let's save this first, and then I'll come back and play around with margins and text size. So I saved it as yellow, and I changed the name of it. So let's say I want to use a specific font for that specific logo. So I can come in here to this top section and I can upload a new font. I already have some fonts uploaded, so I'm just going to go ahead and use those from the library. And I'm going to load the font in there. If you were to load it from scratch, you'd click Upload New, and then it'd be stored in your library and you'd be able to use it again later. So I picked a font to put in there. My logo font fallback, you can choose serif or sans serif. So if you're on some sort of a device that can't render fonts, it'll at least fall to a serif or sans serif, and you can choose the drop down here. And then I'm going to go ahead and click Save. So we've changed the color, we've changed the font, we've changed what that logo actually says. And now you're going to see that it's in that font, it's in that color, and it says what we wanted it to say. And so now let's play around with the margins and the size. So let's say we're like, you know what, I want that logo to be a little smaller. I can use this toggle and drag it down to, let's say, 24. I can use these up and down arrows, and when I'm done, I just kind of click off and it resets it, and I click Save. And we're going to see that this logo is about to get smaller when I refresh. So it's a smaller logo. Now let's talk about margin. So if we turn this margin all the way up to 50, and I click Save, it's going to create space around that logo. If I were to turn it all the way down and I click Save, it's going to reduce the space. It's going to butt right up to the top of the browser almost. So now what we're going to do is we're going to upload a logo. So our designer gets back to us, we come to this section and we click Upload New. I already loaded something, so it's already in my library. I'm going to click on the logo and I'm going to click select. So now my logo's in there. I created a logo that's a transparent ping so that it falls really nicely on any image or any background. I'm going to scroll to the bottom and click save. Now, when I created that logo, I created a little bit of margin in it. So actually, I didn't create a lot of margin. Perfect. So I didn't create a lot of margin in there at all. So it's butting right up against the top and the bottom of this this strip. So now it's like, you know what? I want to create a little bit more space in there. So I'm going to go back, and in my margin, I'm going to turn it up to about 20, and I'm going to click save. And when I come back in here, we're going to have some margin in there. So now it gives us a little bit of breathing room, and it looks a little nicer from a design standpoint. So we've covered the logo margin. We've covered how you type it in. We've covered how you upload it. Again, I recommend that it's a transparent ping so it falls nicely while you're kind of playing around with colors and stuff. It just automatically fits right into whatever you're doing. One thing that I want to talk about is this button. Last thing, logo image is Retina. So you'll notice that a lot of devices now are Retina. I have that image like 100 by 100. If you want it to be Retina, you want to make sure it's double the size that you actually want it to be. So if I wanted it to be 50 pixels by 50 pixels, I made it 100 pixels by 100 pixels, and I turn on the logo image is Retina, and then on Retina devices, it'll show really clear. So a lot of Apple devices do that. And so if you want it to be Retina, you turn that button on, and you just make sure that you double the size of that image. Okay, so now what we're going to do, we have our logo in there, we've changed up our colors. Now what we're going to do is we're going to come in here and we're going to start messing around with all these fonts, font sizes, and stuff like that. So I'm going to go into the Fonts tab. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to upload some fonts for the navigation. So again, you can click Upload New. I already have fonts in there. So I'm going to pick one of my fonts, hit select, and I'm going to change up the colors. I'm going to make this, let's say, a blue. And I go over what these colors are. This is the regular state, the rollover state, and the selected state of the navigation. And I go over that in the navigation video, but I'm just going to come in here and change this up. And I'm going to go to the bottom and click save. I'm going to go refresh, and you're going to see this font is now different, and my rollover colors are different. So now I'm going to do that for all of my different font items. So when we're talking about these different items, you'll see we have the heading font, we have the subheading font, we have the body font, and then we have an action font. So let's go over those. This is a heading font, this is a body font, and this is an action font. The action font is a button. Same thing here, heading, body, and action. Now when we get to a section like this, we have a heading, we have body, this is body, this is going to be our subheading. So we don't want it to maybe be as bold as this, but maybe we want this to be darker, we want the subheading to be darker than this body. And so I'm going to show you how that's done. So we're going to start with the heading font, and I'm going to pick something that I've already uploaded. I'm going to pick a bolder font. I'm going to click select, and I'm going to turn up the size a little bit. I'll start at like, let's say 38. And then I'll go ahead and click save. And what you're going to notice is that when I refresh, all of my heading fonts are a little bigger. It's a bolder font. If I come up here, same thing, same thing. So you're going to want to play with that sizing to make sure you dial it in and it fits in all your sections and for the length of your text. So now the next thing I want to do is I want to play around with that subheading size. So I just did the heading, I did the size, and I'm going to upload. You're going to click Upload New. I'm going to open up my library, and I'm going to pick a regular size font. And I'm going to make sure that this is not as big as my header font. I'll make it like 24, and I'll click Save at the bottom. And you're going to see that we're changing from this to a bit more of a bold, larger font. And then we're going to do the body font. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to pick a really light font. And I'm going to click select. My light font loads in there. and I'm going to leave the body size at about 14. And I'm going to click save. And you'll see that this changed as well, but the sizing didn't change at all. So now we kind of have this hierarchy. It's header, body, subheading, body. And if we come up here, same thing, header, body, and then we're going to do our action item next. So let's scroll back up. So we're gonna come into this action item right here, and I'm gonna upload, and I'm gonna make this my most bold just so that we can tell the difference. Select it, and this is gonna be for like my buttons. And then I'm gonna make this a little bit smaller. I'll make it a 14, and I'll go ahead and click save. And when we come in here, you're gonna notice that this button now is that font is going to be a bolder font. And same thing down here. So you'll notice that we only have to change it in one spot, and it changes it across the board to save you time. So everything looks uniform all the time. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to look at a couple of different items in here that have to do with colors. Now, if you had to go through and change every color on every button in every section, it would take you forever to build the site, and it would be super confusing. So what we did is we created themed colors. So we have a themed light text color, which means that if the text is on light, it's automatically going to be this color, which is dark. And that would be something like this. So this dark charcoal is on a light color, and it automatically makes it that. And then the link on those colors is this blue. So if the background of that section is a light color, it knows to give it a dark font and a blue color. If I were to change this to a orange and click OK and click save, it's going to change that blue button to an orange button. It doesn't change this one because this is a different theme. So I'm going to show you that real quick. So we have a dark theme, which means that our colors are going to be light, which is white, and our link is going to be white. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change these to some light colors. I'll change it to a yellow, and I'll change this one to maybe a brighter yellow, or we'll just make it a bright green, and I'll click OK. And when I click save, we're going to come in here and we're going to refresh, and you're going to see that this is yellow and this is green. So when we're scrolling through the site, you're going to notice that this is a dark color on a light themed background, and this is a dark colors on a light themed background. And you're saying to me, but Anthony, how do you know that this is a dark background? Well, when we go into our pages, and I'm going to show you this, and we go into that specific section, you're going to notice that our background color here is dark. If we were to make this light, it would automatically default our colors to the light theme. So we come in here and we refresh, and you'll notice now the colors are dark and this is dark. So we use this themed option to make it so that it's uniform throughout the entire site, going back into fonts, that it's uniform throughout the entire site so that you don't have to manage that for every single text item and content page. It does it automatically. So you just have to pick your colors, and I think you'll be really happy that it just does it for you. And then the last thing is this footer color. So the footer color and the size is right down here. So this footer color is kind of a light gray right now, and the size of these items are small. So if we were to come in here and make these, I'm going to pick a color so it's really obvious. We'll make these a yellow, and we'll click OK. And again, we could always just copy and paste the hex color, and we were to make this font a little bigger. Save. It's going to change everything in there. So I'm going to click refresh, and you're going to notice that everything gets larger. And in a different video, I show you how to add some text down there and some links and things like that. But those are all the design options that you have, and we went over basic colors, we went over logo, and we went over fonts and colors. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to put in a support ticket and let us know where you're stuck or how we can help. We're always happy to help. Thanks for watching.